We're snorting cap rates and shooting up cash flow here at Deal Junkies. Welcome back to Deal Junkies. I'm Gabe Johansson here in the studio with our occupancy expert, Michael Nuss. We also have our special guest host, Marc Gallegos, also known as Marc Gallegos. And we have Chad Montgomery. Chad is the least, what did we say? Least confident GC?
Yep.
Okay, so we want to bring to you I don't know if this is going to be construction heavy, probably, because we have the two heaviest hitters in construction in the room right now, and Mike. So this is going to be way over my head. We want to know a little bit more about you. But before we do that, the boys are where are they at? And they're in Japan. They were snowboarding. They were posting videos of snowboarding through 3 feet of powder in Kaido or some mountain in northern Japan.
Epic. They're now over the Pacific Ocean.
I have to say that when I look at social media, I don't really get the whole envy thing. But when I watched that video, I was like, these guys are living the life, man.
Yeah. Mark ruined him.
It is very impressive.
He put a good construction guy behind him, and it just ruined him. Now they just go enjoy the world.
I don't think your mic is on, Mark. Would you unplug your mic?
Which one?
We have technical difficulties. Say hi, Mark. It's over to the left there, Mike. This is what happens when we don't have Avery.
Hello.
There you go.
Hello.
There you go.
All right, we got you. You can turn yourself up a little bit.
I just don't know. Is it this one or this one?
Yeah, it's the second.
Now
one.
we need to turn the heat down. It's really hot in here.
Should we start over?
Yeah, we should start over. But like that is the real point.
What?
Trevor and Dane got Stack working, and now you have the bandwidth of a great operator on the construction side behind you, and you get freedom. In real estate, you only get freedom if you can manage the construction. If you have a team that can competently manipulate the structure, you can have peace and freedom. If you do not have that on your team, your fucking life sucks.
So introduce yourself, Mark. Let's start with Mark first, because Mark is you're the Chief Development Officer for Stack Asset Group. You're the owner of Skyline Builders, and Chad is the owner of MCG, Montgomery Construction Group. So we got two big construction guys in here. So tell us, you guys, to me, in my mind, when I think about you, I don't think I know anybody that works more than you two. I don't know anybody that. Do you guys like to work that much?
That's not true. I play golf with Chad. That guy doesn't work.
I don't know. He's like
always working somehow. Yeah.
You guys are both like start at 4 or 5 in the morning. You're working on Saturdays and Sundays. Like, seems like construction's a lot of work.
Yeah, it's a drug, I think.
It's a drug. So you love it. You love doing it.
I love it. And I think that people that do construction like solving problems, and there's an abundance of problems to solve. And so just end up thinking about them all day long.
I think Gabe's turning the heat down, huh?
I think so,
yeah.
too.
Keep going without me.
I think construction's probably the hardest type of company to run. And the reason being is you have to have construction skills, field skills, and those personalities are very different personalities than the back office that you have to manage. And then those personalities that you have to hire make the HR part of your back office that more complicated.
Yeah.
And so I think we're really good, probably why you're working all the time and at 4 a.m. in the morning is because you're not swinging hammers. It's you're keeping your back office together to keep your front office together. And most contractors don't have the back office. And like in our world, in the development world, in the flipping world, is your value comes from being able to work with those people that don't have a back office. Because they can't charge as much, right? Like they can't charge as much, but then that relies on you to then bring a level of back office to them, help them with the permitting, pay them the day they finish their work.
Yep.
And there's kind of a trade-off there. So how do you guys manage your back office versus your front office, like your sales and versus sustainability? Yeah.
I think that's exactly to Gabe's point. Like that's just the extra labor that's required to make that jump. You have to commit to relying on others and delegating and, inspect what you expect with the crew too. And I think that that's one thing that I've watched from Chad, and I'm excited to hear more about it, is like outside looking in, you have all these jobs running and things are firing in all cylinders and all that, but there's so much on-site check-ins required that nobody realizes how much you have to be everywhere, even if you have the team and even if you have the delegation figured out. But the more you grow, at least for me, the more I've grown in this role, I've been able to put people that care more than the average guy. And then they start to take some of that. And as you get more of those people, it means your on-site presence can be decreased a little bit. But it doesn't mean you can't be on-site.
So do you guys spend most of your time behind a computer, or you're out on job sites, or what does your day look like?
Oh, it's a mixture of both. I think the weekend part of it is, and the after hours part of it is more the computer stuff, right? Because during the day, like if it's business hours, so let's just say 6:30 to 4:30 are construction business hours when people are on the job sites, you're getting interrupted nonstop, right? So doing bids, doing invoicing, figuring out schedules, doing all that stuff where you really have to.
That happens after hours.
Correct.
Which you could have, because you're kind of running a lean and mean team. So you wear a lot of hats where you could have people on your team doing that and you wouldn't have to do that work.
Correct. Yeah. So, a lot of people say, well, why don't you just hire somebody to do the scheduling? Why don't you hire someone to do this? And I think for my business plan, the way that we operate, if I do that, then it defeats the purpose of why I created the business. And
tell us the purpose you created the business.
So the purpose of the business was that I was working in commercial construction, and there was, there's a handful of commercial contractors in town that kind of swallow most of the business. And
big dogs.
The big dogs, yeah. And when things got really ramped up and there was more construction than there was contractors, all the people that were doing small TIs, kind of your mom and pop businesses, your small business stuff was just kind of going to the sideline. Either the deal wouldn't happen because nobody could make it pencil on the construction side, or people overpaid for it. And so I saw an opportunity to create a company that could take care of that small work and focus on the small work and not worry about getting big.
So you service, TIs for our listeners is tenant improvement. You're servicing a smaller clientele, building out office and retail type space for the most part?
Correct.
For smaller, like community, more local companies and nonprofits and things like that?
Yeah, we do have some accounts that are bigger and, they give us bigger jobs and they are corporations. And then we have a couple of customers here in town that own a lot of real estate and they do a lot of commercial work. And so we have, like key people, but a lot of it could be a $20,000 TI where somebody just needs like flooring and paint and just to give it a new look for their business, or it could go up to $300,000 because you're doing a commercial kitchen inside of a space. I mean, it can go all over the place, but I would say, it's somewhere between $20,000 to $1 million is kind of the projects we play in.
So tell us, you want to stay in the small TI space and you want to stay lean and mean. How is it by staying lean and mean that you're able to offer a more competitive pricing model? Is that because you just don't have as many mouths to feed? Like there's just not as much overhead?
Yeah. When you get so as you grow in a construction company, and I'm sure Mark can back me up here, as you grow, you hire more people, more staff, and the expectation from people in the industry is like, I'm going to get a company truck. You're going to pay my insurance. I want a gas card. Like, there's a large amount of cost with each employee that you add. And so if you have more people, more cost, then obviously I have to raise my prices. And we already have big contractors in town. We've got a handful of them and they're good and they've been around for a long time. There is very few small contractors that focus and stay in one lane. I've been offered jobs that are huge and they would have been great, but I would have had to tie up 2 resources for a year and that doesn't fit my business model, so I can't do it.
So you're doing a higher volume of smaller jobs?
Yeah, we average like 200 to 230 projects a year.
Wow.
And that
is anybody doing that?
We do 55 a year.
But bigger jobs. Are you guys competing in the same space at all?
I think in the last year we competed on one job and we both didn't get it.
So Skyline's not, because you're not really in the office TI space or retail TI space.
Yeah, that's what's so fun about it. And outside looking in, it seems like it's all cutthroat GC to GC kind of battles. But like, we're all the same kind of people. We're friends and like we know what's going on and we can be allies. And so I think maybe we competed where we didn't realize it, but the one that I distinctly remember we both didn't get. And
Do you guys ever see jobs where you're like, oh, that's not for me, send it to
all the time.
the other guy?
Every day.
Like you guys know which contractor sort of plays in what pond and who fits the billing.
Yeah. The only hard part about that, I think, is there's seasons where some contractors will chase a certain job for it makes sense. So that's the one thing you don't see is like...
Tell us about that. Like what kind of job? Like they're trying to chase a bigger job?
Like
or
if they have a lot of self-performing element to their crew, they may be in a position they have to...
Self-performing mean they're not subbing everything out. They've got staff on payroll that's handling a lot of the work.
If they've got an excavation division and they're coming off of a job early or late start or whatever, they may jump at a job just to keep everything...
Keep people moving.
That's what Chad pointed to, which is now you're committed. And so you have to then make decisions because you're pot committed.
So now if you have a big staff, now you're taking jobs just to keep everybody busy sometimes rather than just taking the jobs that are the ones you want or the ones that are most profitable or whatever. You're making a decision for a different reason because you want to keep your crews running so you don't lose those people for the next job.
To stay alive. Yep. Yeah, the subcontractors, and I think, my business doesn't operate like most businesses where I like bid out to 3 or 4 subcontractors and then whoever has the best price that's who is awarded the job. I don't necessarily operate that way. We use the same guys over and over again for the most part. And so keeping them busy to me in my mind is as important as my actual
because they're really kind of an extension of your team.
100%.
You trust them. You know that you're giving them a lot of work, and so you're getting the best deals already without, if you went out to bid that they would win anyway.
Correct. I actually typically don't bid anything. I just guesstimate.
Wow.
And that is such a time saver. I mean, that's what builds in that bottom line profit because he can move fast.
Yep.
There's companies out there that bid all day, every day.
Well, they have staff for that,
there's
right?
An assumed just waste to that. A lot of waste. For an estimating department to just run through that, there's fatigue from the subs, fatigue from the crew. I mean, it's just so many.
That's what I always wonder when you're calling for bids on a job. At what point do contractors just go, I've already bid your last 4 jobs and I didn't get it, so I don't even want to bid this one?
Yeah, I'd love to hear your feedback on that. I feel that all the time where I'm like, God, we're just running our contractors through and I feel obligated to give them work. And I haven't ever had anyone ask really for anything, but it's in the back of my mind. I'd love to see how you guys think about that.
Yeah, I think we're all in the same boat. Like nobody wants to waste their time, right? Like everybody sitting in this room says my time is worth XYZ. And so when somebody comes along and wastes that time and it's clear that they're wasting your time, then you just kind of cut that tie.
Yep.
I actually just had yesterday somebody email me and say, hey, I have these 3 jobs coming up. And they're actually pretty good sized jobs, probably $3, $5, and maybe $600,000. So 3 jobs all for Q1. And they said, are you interested in bidding these? I need like a budget proposal in 3 days on all 3 of them. And I had bid a job for the same person a year ago, and I spent probably 20 hours of my time on it. I never even got a call back to say that I wasn't awarded the job. And so my response to whether or not I wanted the work was whatever happened with that job a year ago.
Yep.
And then they instantly know that I'm being on the defensive because you wasted my time. You didn't even have the decency to call me and say, hey, we didn't award that and this is why. At least let me know where we landed. And so she said, are you interested? And I said, no.
And you're a general contractor. So to the sub point, like when you guys are out looking for subs, are you calling for bids with subs, Mark? I mean, how many of them are just like, I'm not even going to bid this job because I know we're not going to win it, or I know we've never done a job for you?
So our business is focused on the larger, longer projects on the apartments. Like that's our general focus. So the crews that we're going after have quite a bit of manpower behind them and a pretty big estimating department. There is a level of fatigue.
So they've got a team already ready to go. It's like, hey, plug your team in, give me your bid on this.
And it means you still have to be very respectful about it and not because it costs us money to put a bid together.
Why?
It costs them money
because of your staff.
Our estimators too are spinning their wheels and they're not generating work during that period.
So is the model broken? I mean, is this whole go out to bid thing, is that how it should be? It feels to me like there's something wrong. Is there a better way?
It's just construction is, and Mike alluded to it out of the gate, it's just a hard business. I mean, sure, you could use technology to plug a lot of numbers, but every job is different. And even if you try to put square foot numbers together, there's logistics, there's time, there's so many little things that screw it up. And so it's just hard, and I think it's always going to be hard.
It seems like death by 1,000 cuts sort of a thing. It's like each piece alone is not complex, but when you put the whole package together, it reminds me of property management. There's like, this is not rocket science, but there's just a million things to track.
Well, I think construction's like the perfect mixture of math and science and art.
Hey guys, Gabe here. Have you seen the exciting new projects we have going on at Stack Asset Group? If you're interested in investing with us, click the link in the description below.
Like, there has to be an art to how you run your business, but you have to cut within 1/8 of an inch of a cut, right? You have to be exact. And that's kind of where you have to have your safety protocols. And so now you have your layers of everything because you have to get to this exact, precise level. And it's the boundaries and systems that then create that, right? Completely opposite of my business, which is just purely art, right? You have math and science and the financials, but I don't inspect what I expect because I give my staff so much leeway that it's like, well, I can't get mad at this because they're doing this and they're overwhelmed and I expect them to make this mistake. And so there's this art of it where you just can't be exact and it's not black and white. You have to have both of that in the construction world, which makes it infinitely more difficult.
I mean, me being the customer, I just want everything to be black and white.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's what it'll
just tell me what it's going to cost. Well, we don't really know.
Yeah, well, it's dude, one unforeseen changes this scope of work, which triggers that, and then triggers this and triggers that. And you're like, I know you want this and exactly what you're talking about. But what about all these other things that lead up to that? You can't not touch that to do this.
So here's my gut, and tell me if I'm wrong about this, but it feels like when you go out to bid to a sub or a contractor for that matter, they're going to be maybe, I don't know, over conservative in some element. They're going to bake in enough profit, contingencies. They're going to, if they're bidding it, they don't want to underbid unless they're the contractor who just wants to win the job, and then they bid it for what they know they're going to win the job at, and then they just change order you. So there's these two varying. So you get like 3 bids, and one might say it's $100,000 and one might say it's $90,000, and then you're trying to figure out between the two. But then somebody else comes in at 60, and you're like, well, obviously we're going to use the guy at 60, and then you get a change order 2 days before the job's done.
Nope.
And it's 120, and you're like, well, I should have just gone with one of the other 2 guys to begin with. So this whole bid thing is kind of like, is that a real bid? Did you really like? Trevor and I, as a small example, we did some roofs. He's talked about this before on a couple of triplexes that we have, and we had a guy who bid the job, and we got 100% change order at the end. And we're like, well, how does that work? So we went back and we looked at the bid, and we didn't really know how to read bids. But in his bid, he didn't even, one part of the change order was putting gutters on the building. And it's like, well, you knew the gutters were going to have to come off when you did the roof. That should have been part of your original bid. That's not a change order. You just bid this thing like, oh, you might, we have a contingency. We had to add gutters. It's like, well, you knew the roof was going to need gutters. So I think that in the construction world, these guys are laughing at me. We probably hired the wrong contractor, right? You know why we hired him is because he gave us the lowest bid.
Yeah,
that was your first mistake.
You see why I say Mark spoiled Trevor? Like, look at all the hard stuff Trevor had to go through until he knew someone that had to do construction on his.
But to our listeners, though, give them some advice, Chad, on how to do this when they're going out to get a job bid.
You know who the worst person at construction would be? This just dawned on me. Is Trevor Howard. No, Trevor Howard. Because you can't type into ChatGPT, how do I do construction, and get the right answer.
Yeah.
As far as bidding goes, if I got 3 bids and one was 60, 90, and 100, you automatically throw one of those out, and it's not the most expensive, and it's not the next most expensive. It's the bottom guy. Because in the scope of work, you should already, if you're bidding something, you should already kind of know where that's going to land. So if I'm looking at the job and I'm expecting, let's say it's a paint job, right? And I in my brain, I already have to have a number. So let's say it's $10,000, and I get a bid for $11,000, $12,000, and I get a bid for $6,000. I automatically know that 11,000, 12,000 are the ones that I should be looking at. And then I can go to those 2 people and talk to them about what their scope of work is, how they see the job, and then decipher whether or not they're including everything that I'm including in my brain. So the cheap bid is always the worst.
But you're a contractor. When you're an investor, you look at it and you go, oh, I can save $5,000. I'm going to give them a shot at it. You're not even thinking about it. You're just like, they're going to paint the same thing the other guy's going to paint. You could, but the problem, like, paint is really simple for most people, right? So then the first thing that I say is if they're half of everybody else, how long is it going to take? Mm-hmm. If it's a 3-day paint job, are they actually going to show up
to do it? Right.
Well,
Like timing is everything. If you're doing 200 projects a year, I don't have the luxury of it taking longer than it was supposed to. I don't have the luxury. If it takes longer than it's supposed to, I lost money and it cost my customer money, and there is going to be change orders at some level, right? And so my goal is to budget a job in a sense that I'm not going to go up. I'm going to come down unless they've added something that was specific. They know, like, hey, I want to put all new light fixtures in. That's $1,000. We agree. You're going to spend $1,000 more, right? So I don't think picking the lowest bid is the best way to do it. I think just understanding where the person that's bidding it is coming from and making sure that aligns with what you have in your head.
So what do you do in that case? You compare the bids and you look at the scope of work and you just study it line by line?
You can, but bids can also be very vague.
So let's do it in reverse. Let's say somebody bids at 90, somebody bids at 100, and you get a $150,000 bid. Do you throw the 150 out and compare the lower two?
No, I start with the 150 and look at the scope of work.
And figure out what they're actually
That's a
doing.
good way to
and
work
compare.
backwards from.
Okay.
Because it probably has the biggest level of scope of work. And so then that shows the misses or the inaccuracies.
What's not being done in the other bids.
Exactly.
I like that. That's
Yeah.
good advice.
Yeah.
Yep.
You brought it up of like what's broken in construction. I think as we look to why there's so many contractors and a need and all that, it's like you expressed the experience of you and Trevor, and it's like most people in the industry or that would be hiring us have been through an experience like that and have felt the pains and felt the delays and felt the miscommunication.
We start to not trust contractors. We just think that everybody's just a piece of crap and they're going to lie to us. That's what it feels like.
So maybe they go out and do their own project as their own operating GC. Then they feel that burden. So like there's always going to be that. It's just so many pieces to juggle. And I think that's why there's always a need for a contractor in place.
Well, it's one of the testaments to why both of you guys are successful at this, because you guys are good and you know how. It's one of the reasons why we're talking right now is because you guys know how to run a company, you know how to bid a job, you know how to get a job done on time, get it done on budget. You would think that that's common in construction, but in my experience, it's very, very rare.
You know what I found about construction? It's a very emotional industry. And I think one of the people that do really well, they have a level of stoicism to them, right? And so that's exactly what you're pointing to, which is you have to have a contractor because you have to have someone who can be calm in the chaos, who can see the influences and can say, yes, we have a huge fucking plumbing leak right there and it's causing a big problem. And I know it doesn't make sense, but I'm going to run over here and do this one thing and it's going to save you a lot of time and money. Trust me. Let's do it this way. And so you have to have a level of guidance. And then as like an operator, the level 401 thing is once you start understanding what really is required in their scope of work, then you can make better hiring decisions on which contractors you actually hire. Biggest example is how many people spend 25 fucking grand to put a gutter system in their basement when all they needed to do was spend $1,000 on the gutters and a little bit of slope management and stormwater, right? And so understanding their scope of
You're talking
work,
about like waterproofing a basement?
absolutely.
Yep.
It's the biggest scam in the Pacific Northwest.
I've spent that money before.
I can't tell you how many houses I got $50,000 discounts on and then spent $2,000 on stormwater management. But there's a whole contractor world that says we have to, and this is kind of the ego part of it, which is it has to be done this way. It has to be done right. And then you have this like liability driven sales system that says, oh yeah, liability, it has to be done right. You have to have it done this way. But what's the ultimate goal? To get some water out of your basement? You know, understand what the desire is and how you get there and what you actually need to do to be successful.
One of the reasons I call Chad the least confident GC I know, it's actually a compliment. This is meant to be a compliment, Chad.
Oh, I feel it.
And it's not that you're not confident, but every contractor, not every, but almost every contractor I've ever talked to will tell you their way is the right way. And every job they walk into that they didn't do, they'll tell you why the last guy did it wrong. Like you guys are all, I mean, you guys I think are exceptional, but I think that in the industry as a whole, everybody, like you're talking about the ego, Mike, it's like everybody has their own way of doing things. And I think that from a consumer standpoint, we think there's should only be one right way to do it, but there might be 10 right ways to do it. And every contractor thinks their way is the right way. I don't know. Yeah, it's ego, it's stoicism, it's whatever you want to call it. But I've never met a contractor really, other than maybe Chad, who's like, well, I don't know, there might be a better way to do it. I mean, most contractors will just be like, 100%, this is the only way you can do it. It's like, I know that's not true because I can bring another guy in right now after you finish the job and he'll tell me you did it wrong.
Yeah.
Funny. It's the old, my dad's smarter than your dad.
Yeah.
Right? Like, your dad's the smartest guy on the planet when you're a kid, and it's the same thing in construction. I try not to tell people. I try and give people options of, we can go this way, or this way. These are the implications and the costs associated with it, and then let them decide. I feel like guiding a customer through the process of what they're going to spend and how they're going to spend it is much easier for them to be part of the process and get the buy-in than for me to tell them how it should be done. Obviously, I'm not going to pick one of the options that is going to lead them in the wrong direction, but telling customers what the best way is all the time it rarely works for me. And if I look at a job and I say this job should take 4 weeks, and there's opportunity for me to upsell it and it takes 6 weeks, I'm not trying to upsell more stuff on that job. Like I need that one done in 4 weeks so I can get to the next one and the next one. They all have to line up. So if you have a contractor that's trying to oversell you on stuff and trying to like build in extra stuff to the job,
You might be their only customer.
That might be a red flag.
Absolutely.
Not always, but it might be a red flag, and they may need that extra money, and they may have more time on their schedule. And if you're a contractor, I think in the last 10 years in our market anyway, and you're not busy, I don't know what to tell you because
you should have been. You're saying,
yeah.
I'll show you, like, that shows up in my business with significant cost. And so kind of that last 10 to 20%, I have a contractor that gets to 80% really, really well. But then it's that last 10 to 20%.
Oh my God, this is my biggest pet peeve. I call it the 5-yard line. I don't know what this is. Is this a character defect of people who like construction? They like to get the job all the way till it's almost done.
Yeah.
And there's just always this little punch list that needs to be done that just can't get finished. Like we can get the whole job done in a couple months, and then it takes another 2 months just to get to the last few yards in.
Yes.
It's crazy.
You're right.
What is that?
Well,
You're 100%
I think
right.
It's that mindset of you want your contractor, their goal should be I'm getting off this job as fast as I can. And if you've got a contractor, and it happens a lot on old historic homes where it's just so many things, and it is so many things, and it drains on them, and it becomes brain fatigue, and it's like, oh, I'd rather go to this job site today than go back to that one.
Yeah, they get sick of it.
Exactly. Yeah. And then that comes with just not bidding it right with the scope of work at the front side. So now you're caught with, do I do it myself and not charge a change order and then take the time to do it, and there's opportunity cost because I don't do the other one? Or do I have a conversation, do the change order? I almost got into a lawsuit. We got in a settlement agreement because I had a contractor that was doing this. He wasn't willing to talk about change orders. He wasn't willing to do this. He had huge budgets and he was doing great work, and he was saying, we just did some extra here and we did some extra there. And I'm like, dude, I appreciate that. Thank you. No, do we need a change order? None. And then you get to the end, and now he's pissed. And he's like, I've done all this. And now he has this resentment that was their ego built into this. Whereas I'm trying to rush to get you paid. I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to do that. Like, I want to make sure that you are on the same page. And they build up to a point where now they've checked out. That's the worst.
They start to hate the job.
They start to hate the job. And you never want your contractor to hate the job. So that matters with the types of jobs that you pick.
Yep.
I think it matters on the GC though. I when I hear that, I know that I've worked alongside or acquaintances, people have heard experiences like that. They can't finish the job for whatever reason. That is the complete opposite of me. Like it would eat me alive if someone was depending on me to finish a little thing. Like I would be there at midnight. I would be there whenever to do that. And I think that there's some contractors that are similar, that like the last thing in the world is I want to owe you something. It's like, it's just not going to fly. And I think that that's maybe that characteristic of a contractor. They love to take on more and more and more, and then they get over their skis, and for whatever reason they just give up or whatever. But then as you progress in the field, and why I think people quickly jump to commercial is because everyone's playing in that. Everyone is like that.
It's professional.
That's the sophistication of going to commercial, I guess.
So you're saying there's a big difference between maybe a residential contractor or a commercial contractor and the Just kind of like the rhythm that they run in, or
professional. They got hard hats. They got protocols. They have
it's more sophisticated
on-site managers.
It is on the line.
Yeah,
I mean, there's just so many things on the line when you get to that because it's just required.
So speaking of that, you guys are both in the commercial world. How do you manage your clients? Is that harder to deal with clients? Because aren't they? I mean, they have big ideas and big egos, and don't they want to tell you how to do your job?
Can we back up to the last thought real quick?
Yeah.
So the finishing, Mark, I think Mark's 100% correct. If that's my biggest pet peeve within my company and with any of my guys, if we ever have a problem, it's that we didn't finish a detail. And owning the job like it is, like you're the building owner. One of the examples that I use with my guys when I'm teaching them is, if the job's $100,000 and we're supposed to take 6 weeks, at the end of 6 weeks, when you finish that job, or hopefully 5 weeks, not 7, is that you walk through that job. And if it was your $100,000 that you were scratching the check for, if you're completely happy that you're about to scratch a check for $100,000, then you can walk off the job. And if you're not, then don't, right? Finish what you started. And it's the hardest thing to teach people to have that sense of urgency because nobody cares as much as you care because you own the business. Mm-hmm. All the liability comes onto your plate at the end of the day.
And when you have a back office, that back office is dependent on that front.
Correct.
And when you don't have a back office, you can be more lackadaisical on the front end.
Yep.
And so when we're hiring contractors, we need to understand who are we hiring, what is their personality type, what's their structure type, and how is that going to fit into our timelines. Like,
I think the other part of the contractor thing, and I don't want to say that there's not really good professional residential builders, because we have a few here in the Valley that are absolutely amazing, that do a really good job. But that's not the guys getting the majority of the work in the field, right? Like, so one of the things that happens in construction a lot is you have a guy that says, well, I'm working, let's just say I'm one of Mark's superintendents, okay? And I see Mark buy a new truck and Mark's got a big house and I'm making $90,000 a year. And I'm like, wow, Mark just went on vacation. This is great, right? Like, I can do this. Whatever he's doing is not that hard. I can go do this. Especially when you get into the trades, like if a guy can wear bags and he's a roofer, and he's like, well, the roofing company's making all this money. I'm making $30 an hour. I can go do this. This is not hard. Those aren't business people. Those are workers, right? And they can't differentiate the two. Like, a business owner should be doing business and a worker should be doing work. And you can't do both. You can't wear your bags and get your bids out on time and invoice on time. It's too much workload for one person. And so what they do is they have to strategically stretch themselves beyond what's realistic. So I have to go finish that job for Mike over there, and I got to do all those final little touch-ups, and I got to send that bid tonight, and I got to invoice that job, and then I have to line my guys up in the morning and go to my next job. And maybe they don't line up because there was a change order that was unavoidable, and now their schedule's messed up, right? Mm-hmm. As where in a GC format, Mark has enough contacts and enough resources, and I have enough contacts and resources that if I get in a jam over here, I can take this resource and put it here and patch that, and then I can still maintain everything else that's going on the other 14 active jobs. Mm-hmm. And when you're in residential, especially when you're wearing bags and you're a little guy, like, you're just getting into it, that's really, really hard to do.
Absolutely.
So that's
and the problem kind of solves itself too when, like, let's say that guy starts out, he gets to a point, he's done a good job, he's got all the attributes that would require him to make that jump from worker to business owner. He would hire that back office staff. You know, best intentions, you put someone that's smart, willing, all the things. For them to stay in that position, that guy has to, or girl, has to set them up in a way to stay. You know, like, procedures have to be in place. The role has to be clarified. There has to be all these things that if that doesn't happen, they're gone too. Mm-hmm. So, like, it kind of sustains itself when they start to realize, for me to hire back office, I need to give them a job description that will allow them to be satisfied in their role, and to keep a really high caliber person that just continues to evolve. And that's what I've realized is, like, the best I can, if I don't set someone up well, they could have all the best attitude and willingness, and they'll be out of here in a minute. So,
how many people do you know in the construction world that are competent job description writers and org chart creators?
I was going to say that. Like, I think that in that industry, there's not a ton of business savvy. Like, a lot of the business owners have come from wearing bags, and you can sense it. Mm-hmm. Like, they know about construction, but they don't really know that much about business.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Like my experience with appraisals. So when I started my first appraisal company, it's just like what you're explaining. Like I'm a worker, now I'm a business owner. Guess what I did? I took the systems that my employer had that I liked, abandoned everything else, and I had a shell of the company I worked for. And so you get these copies of copies, which is a shell of a shell of a copy of a copy of a shell of a shell. And it just washes out. So you can have these amazing principles start from 100 decades ago, but now the person that is a spawn off of that has none of that.
Yeah, and I think on the residential commercial thing, like I think people, it kind of relates to the customer. I think people that stay in residential that are really great at what they do have a level of patience or have a level of willingness to like create the client that they want. Like they don't take a lot of jobs, they take the perfect job, because for them to do what they do, they need the perfect client for what they do. And it's a higher end client that cares about quality, all the things.
Willing to pay a little more.
Yeah, because they see the value. A lot of times they'll just move to commercial because the majority of the clients see that. And so there's some people that can stay because they have a certain personality that are willing to shape that, custom home builder or high-end remodeler, all those things. And so they're just as great of a craftsman and all the things. But I want to kind of hear on Chad's, because when I outside looking in, it's like people that do what Chad do are extremely good at creating the environment where both parties can win. They maybe set the expectations, they paint the picture, they build all the things so that business owner, maybe it's their first business, maybe it's like really good entrepreneur or whatever, they talk for a little bit, expectations are set, they let them go. And Chad can now do a job 2 times, 3 times faster than somebody else because he's nurtured it, built it, set that up for success. So like in today's market, actually, first question before I go there, is this what you thought you were going to have? Like Vision starting MCG in 2014, was that?
Yep. Yeah, 2015.
So when you thought 10 years from now, this is what I'm going to build, this is what it's going to look like, this is how happy I'm going to be, like, what is that compared to reality today?
It's pretty close. I mean, when I wrote the business plan, I set a dollar amount that I wanted to execute year in and year out. And I figured if I was within 10 or 15% of that total volume, then I needed XYZ employees and we could do XYZ amount of work. And we've stayed the same pretty much every year. Like the first year that we were in business obviously wasn't right at the mark because we started halfway through the year. So not a good judge for that one. But every other year we've been within 10%, give or take, of $5 million. And the last 2 years, it's actually been, last year was our biggest year, and then this year will be our second biggest year, but it's incremental. It's like 100,000 or 203,000. I don't know. It's really small. But what I set out to do and what we do is exactly the same.
Yeah.
From day one till now, my goal was never to be big and never to grow into this big, huge company that had 50 employees and 50 trucks and 10 dump trucks. Like that was never my intention. My intention was to stay small, fill the void in the market that didn't have attention being brought to it, and just stay in that lane. Mm-hmm. And so I end up referring a lot of work to other contractors. Mm-hmm. But I also get that's reciprocated back to me a lot. Yeah. I mean, it's happened to me in the last quarter probably 5 times, or another contractor will call me and say, hey, I referred to you. We're bidding against each other, and like, I referred to you because you're better suited for the job. Mm-hmm. And I ultimately end up getting the job.
Mm-hmm. Outside of your branded vehicles, do you do any marketing?
No.
Yeah.
No, we sponsor events, and if we're sponsoring an event, giving money to a charity, and we're getting advertising out of it, I'm not doing it for the advertising. I can care less about it. In fact, if they didn't put my sign up, I'd be fine too. Yep. I'm doing it because I believe in whatever they're doing, and that's where we make our donation dollars fit. Mm-hmm.
So you got signs and you got trucks, and the trucks aren't even company trucks for the most part. You just got guys wearing your branding on their trucks?
No. At one point, about halfway through, I got to about 10 employees, and I realized it wasn't going as well as I thought, and so we scaled back down. And so we have 4 people right now, and me. And so 5's kind of the sweet spot for us. It's like it's $1 million per head, right, of responsibility is the way I look at it. Like it can be managed within that 5 people, $5 million. So we went up and went down, and at one point I was giving people an allowance for their car payment to put their logo on their work truck if they wanted to. Now the company owns all the trucks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you have your fleet.
Yeah.
So back as you envisioned this thing, what you thought of, because your background is you've done a lot of things, but like you were in that space for another GC. And so when you anticipated that transition and you thought about how you would control clients and control the experience and all that, because that seems like that's your secret sauce, is like just doing that. So what would you say today is most important for the clients you're chasing or the work you're chasing? Like, what does that client look like? Are they schedule motivated, cost, quality, spirit? Like, what is the makeup of that client? Because I think that's what you've honed in on and been able to control, and why you have such a great reputation, because that's the people you're dealing with all the time.
Yeah. I don't necessarily get to choose the client, and I don't necessarily want to choose the client because they're all different. So majority of my work comes from referral. First off. Second off is probably brokers, commercial brokers that have a job and they see like this is a smaller job. It needs to go really fast. There's not a huge budget here.
Like a real estate broker that's putting a tenant in place.
A commercial
and
broker,
saying,
yep.
This is the picture we can build. Just call Chad. It can happen.
Well, usually what happens is somebody will refer the first contractor and the job doesn't pencil with the construction budget. That's pretty common too. And then they bring me in and they're like, hey, we thought you'd be a good fit for this, which means like one or two other people has already bid it, which is fine.
We need it cheaper. Chad.
Call Chad.
I actually like that set of circumstances better because I've taken out all the like what ifs, right? You've already gotten 2 bids.
Yeah, we know it can't be that.
So now all I have to do is I have to be at my price, which is already going to beat them. And then the second thing I have to do is I just have to perform. So I get to narrow down the variables.
Light. Yeah,
right?
like it's like you have a green light if you can do this, and you're like, cool.
And then what you do, or what I do in my mind, is once I know that the job has been sold and it's going to be our job, is I start to communicate with the customer. Like, what are your needs? What are your expectations? What are your visions? What are you trying to accomplish? What's your market? You know, all the stuff I need to know. And then I start giving them the options. Like, you can do A or B. I would do A, I would do B, this is why, and then let them make the decisions. We come up with a game plan, I put a schedule to that, and then we go. So sometimes we're waiting for permits, and we have some lag time. Sometimes it starts right away, but guiding them is the hardest part of my job by far. The communication, and because every personality is a little bit different. I got a phone call the other day, and we had this little job. It was like $20,000, and it was just, it was really easy, right? And I called her like a week after we finished, and I shot her an email, and I just said, hey, just want to make sure everything went okay, and you're happy, and everything's going good, and like the business is open, you don't have any problems. And she didn't write me back, and she was very responsive up to this point. And so I waited a day, and I wrote her again, and then she didn't write back. And so then I texted her, and I said, hey, did something happen that I missed? Like, what's going on? So she gets on the phone. She said, I'll call you in a few minutes. So she gets on the phone with me. She calls me. And she said, at the very end of the job, we were done with our scope of work, but there was this part in the front of the job where the existing flooring was all messed up. And so I told her that we would replace the flooring, and I'd split the cost with her, because it really wasn't her fault, wasn't my fault. But it's like, you can't have everything else look brand new and nice and then leave the front of it looking all junky. So. But the guys that went in and did that work on a weekend, because now she's open, right? So now I have to work around her schedule. They left glue on stuff, right? So like, I just spent 4 weeks with this lady doing exactly what she wants. She's thrilled. And then we get to this little minute detail at the very end where I'm actually losing money to make her happy and to do what's right. And then now she's got a bad taste in her mouth, even though for 4 weeks we performed. So one of the first things that she said to me was, I know my job's really, really small and probably not that important. And that was like the instant where I was like, no. Let's pause. Like 20 grand, 200 grand, 2 million, doesn't matter. It's a job. And like, we set this up at the beginning. I was going to perform and I was going to make you happy. And if I didn't do that, I'm going to do it. Like, I'm going to figure out how to go from point A to point B. We had a 15-minute conversation. She's like, oh, you're so great. And then a day later, she's leaving a Google review, you know? So being small and being able to touch my jobs is the other part of it.
Yeah.
Like, if I can't be on the job, if I can't communicate with the customer, if I can't be a part of the motion of the whole entire project, then I don't know that I necessarily want to do it.
And Gabe, to your point earlier, like that, that whole personality and care is probably the 20% of the contractors, maybe.
Or
and
10.
so like,
Yeah, it's more a 90-10 rule in the construction world.
and
Or
so
5.
like they would, and most people would come into the project and end it and be like, I don't know what her problem is.
We got paid. Move on. Next job.
And there's some guys that just won't
Yeah.
sleep until they know,
The job's done right.
like, shit, you know, it's over. So you can do everything right, mess up one little thing whenever in the process, the whole thing's gone. And some people care about that, and some people don't.
Yeah.
And I think that generally the guys that care just keep growing and keep bringing.
Yeah, you're striving for excellence, and that's what's interesting. Is I think that because you guys do stand out in this world, it's hard to not scale, because I'm sure you've had every opportunity over the last decade to take MCG to 50 employees many times if you wanted to do that.
I mean, there was a point where 20 would have been, I probably could have made it happen in a year, I would think. Like, I was just penciling it out and looking at what it would look like to scale. And I couldn't bring myself to manage that many people.
So that was a lifestyle decision?
No, lifestyle would be to get 20, because then I could build a back office and I could take less responsibility.
Because you're in the weeds.
Yeah, every day. Yeah.
So is that a personality decision?
For me? Yeah.
Because you
100%.
like what you do.
I
You
do.
wouldn't strive for the excellence you're striving for if you didn't love it.
Yeah. If I couldn't do construction, I would fill that with 10 other chaotic things that measured in the same amount of input on my end.
Totally.
I didn't pay you as well.
Yeah, and didn't. Yeah, 100%. The pay. I think that's the other thing is when you talk about pay with contractors, it's always that I want a nice truck like you, and I want a house like you. So if I'll just go start my own company, then I'll have those things. That's not why I started it. That was a byproduct of me doing it. Right. And
You wanted to build a good company.
that's when like it's blind faith into like, I'm going to create something and I'm going to dedicate myself to that thing. And the byproduct is going to be.
When did you get your nice truck? How long did you not have a nice truck?
I bought my first nice truck like 3 months after I started.
One thing I think that I respect a lot about construction is, and I don't know, it'd be interesting to see other people's perspective on it, but I feel like construction is an industry that the operator is the one creating the value that they get. And it's not like this asymmetric return that a lot of other technology or businesses that like, oh yeah, I got 200%, profit on that job or whatever. Like, construction is almost a level playing field majority of the time. And your skill in the business is how you make your living. And like, that is fun to me.
It's a service industry.
Where if you are thinking ahead and playing Monopoly and doing the things like, okay, you just made yourself more. And the client knows, like, they are willing participant because they can go out and get bids and they can go do it themselves. And so I like that part, because it's almost like I'm going to toe to toe with everybody else. And that's fun to me. And it'd be fun to see what clients think of that. Like, they think we're gouging everybody, but like, you'd be out of business if you gouged everybody.
Yeah, you can't do it.
So
Do one job and you're done.
So I think that's fun, and that's why I think Chad likes it, and why I like it is just like it's a level playing field. It's game on, and it's pretty enjoyable.
One thing I notice about both of you have a similar personality type, and you're so cool and calm and collected, and like there's just things burning down around you all the time. And do you feel like everybody in your industry is like that, or everybody that's successful is like that? Like, you guys in the midst of chaos, like, you guys somehow are the calm voice that says it's going to be okay. And you actually enjoy the chaos. You love people bringing you problems to solve. Like, it doesn't seem to like spike your blood pressure. It's just like, oh, okay, we got another problem. Let's figure. It's like you're in the middle of you're playing a puzzle. Like, it's the
man in the arena.
Am I saying it right?
Like, floor.
you guys seem to enjoy it. Am I correct in my thinking?
Yeah. Chad said he would fill his life with something else, chaotic and stressful. It's just that chemical makeup we have, and we enjoy it, and we just like solving problems.
Dude, there's Dan Lanning has the best quotes ever. And there's these recaps of the Ducks football games, and his quote after last week was, there's a calm on that field, right? And the whole thing was talking about the rivalry game and the chaos, and there's this and there's that. There's a calm on that field. And so you operate best when you're a warrior, when you're in the arena, when you can't sit in the stands and you have to be on the field, you thrive in the chaos. Like, that is actually where you perform, and that's where you become who you're supposed to be. Everything is setting up for that chaos, right? Keeping your staff calm, bidding the jobs, bringing everything in is for when everything breaks and everyone now needs you to bring that calm. Like, that's what you're made for. That's your purpose.
Yep. I think the aspect to that is once you've sat in the trench long enough alone for enough of a period of time, you realize that it's going to get better.
You can see
and
further.
So like, employees bring these problems. It's like, oh my gosh, it's such a big problem. And I'm like, okay, tell me what it is. And they're like, and I'm like, that's a problem? Like, that on my list of problems today, that was like number 100.
Right.
And I'm working on number 30 right now.
Yeah.
So like,
and it's your job to educate them, right? Like, my disposition agent was like, we're getting bent over on this repair denim, and I'm like, we quantify it. I'm like, let's quantify it. I'm like, that's a lot better than a $25,000 price reduction and having to go back into escrow. Are we really getting bent over, or are we just closing the deal?
Yep.
You know, and but that's experience. That's forging.
That's
it's
experience,
adjusting.
yeah.
Well, your life is chaotic too.
What are you talking about?
I know you're like Mr. Fun, social. Everything's fine. Everything's
I just
great.
play video games and do podcasts all day. What are you talking about?
But you pull that, you learn from your friends and the people that you surround yourself with too. And I hang out with like-minded people, and you see other people go through something really big. You know, like I saw you go through your thing, and it was like, man, if he did that, like, what am I complaining about?
Yeah.
Right? The perspective is everything. And teaching my employees that perspective, like, this isn't the end of the world. This is very solvable, and every problem has a solution. We just have to find it. Mm-hmm. That's what makes it easier to deal with the 20,000 things that happen in a day.
Yeah, once you start solving bigger problems, the littler problems seem pretty little.
Yeah, they're tiny.
It's funny how you just think, like, one day I'm not going to have to solve problems. I'll have this all figured out. And it's like, no, actually, you're just going to have to keep solving bigger problems. But the little problems just don't feel like problems anymore.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I have a strategy when it comes to problems with my team and like partners and stuff, is like, to solve a problem, you have to first define the problem really well. And like, you kind of express that the way you're explaining it. It's like, okay, explain to me your problem. And they maybe, when I first heard you explain it, I was like, is he saying that they can't explain it? Or is he saying that they like work through it, they're all rattled by the time they finish the sentence? They're like, it's kind of solved itself.
Yeah.
And so it's always like, okay, explain to me the problem really well. Give me 3 options to solve the problem and tell me what option you choose. If you go through that exercise, like, it works itself out by the time that they finish the exercise. And so that's helped a lot with developing people on the team, because every time you show that strength and like, oh yeah, we've been there, that's fine, this is how we get through it, they get a little more confident and they continue to grow.
Yeah, when they're spinning and they're in the chaos, they can't see the answer. But when you can calm them down and say, like, all right, let's just talk it through. Let's just see what are we actually facing. Like Mike's talking about with the addendum. You know, it's like, okay, well, let's just take the emotion out of it. Mm-hmm. Let's just look at this in black and white. What's actually happening? And my dad always used to talk about his mentor, and he said one of the things he loved about him was he'd go to him with an issue, and his mentor wouldn't. It was his business partner, but he wouldn't solve the problem for him.
Mm-hmm. Can't.
He would walk him through what was going on, and he would ask the right questions to lead my dad to solve his own problem, basically. And now you have somebody who knows how to solve that problem, rather than every time something happens, you're going to run to me and go, I don't know what to do. You actually get to walk them through that process and let work it through their brain so that they can stop, slow down, line it out, and then go, okay, how are we going to approach this?
Yep. It's the question with the question. I hardly ever answer questions. I usually just ask more questions.
There you go. It's the best way
and
to do
then
it.
they keep talking, and then eventually it comes.
They de-escalate. Questions de-escalate
Pretty fast.
Yeah. One of the best experiences I had in my life was watching my dad's retirement party, and the teachers were sending him off as a big production, and they gave him 2 dimes. And 2 things I learned from my dad was paradigm shift. Like, he always communicated to his staff, paradigm. Like, how do you change your thinking? How do you change your perspective to see a different solution. And what I saw him when I would go on free days to his school was people are bringing problems because he's the principal. And he's like, don't bring me a problem without 2 potential solutions.
Yeah.
And then that creates the paradigm shift because now you have to think 2 different ways.
Yeah. I love that.
Yep.
Yeah. Don't bring me the problem. Bring me something. How do you think we should solve this problem? And we'll work through it together.
It's an amazing exercise.
Absolutely.
Sure.
How do you feel with your staff right now, Mark? Do you feel like they can solve problems?
Yeah, I mean,
I'm asking selfishly.
It's always a work in progress, but that's what I've realized is, and what's cool about construction is you are hiring the specialist to do the work. Sure, we could go tile a shower. Sure, we could go put concrete down. But these guys do it, and they're great at it, and you trust them. The same happens internally for the back office, too. Like, you put the right people in place. The second you get out of their way, you realize what can happen. The same as a job site. Start firing on all cylinders. So it's taken me a long time because I get a control freak. I like to get in the weeds. I'd like to do all parts of it for a lot of reasons.
Micromanage.
Yeah, I would prefer to be wearing my back. So there's a lot of that. So it's taken me just to grow up to get out of the people's way and trust. And so I couldn't be more excited where we're at now. I just put on a new project manager who's like, I'm just watching this thing flourish, and it's so fun to me. It's just like watching a job develop overnight, and it's
you're putting on your bags in a different way. You're building a team instead of
because that's
building the building.
They don't need me doing anything else.
Yeah, one of the things I appreciate about Mark is like when somebody goes, somebody will show up and they'll go, do the dirt work, or they'll lay a driveway, or they'll do whatever they're doing, and Mark will just go like, oh my gosh, did you see how these guys did this?
Those are some sexy lines.
I love it.
He just geeks out on it. It's like, these guys are just so good at what they do.
That broom trowel was so amazing.
But I think you need that. I think that's part of leadership, is being a cheerleader, not only in helping people solve problems, but when they are doing something right, because we're so used to always things going wrong that taking the time to appreciate when somebody is actually really doing a great job and their talent is shining through, to stop and pat them on the back and just go like, dude, I don't know how you did that. That is amazing, And I see you do that a lot. I'm sure Chad does it too.
That's probably one of my weaknesses is complimenting people when they are doing a really good job. I'm the opposite when it comes to people, and it's probably part of the reason I don't want to scale and have more people is I don't like to micromanage. Like, if I hire somebody, I don't tell them how much I'm going to pay them. I let them tell me how much they want to be paid, because my expectation from that point forward when they're hired is that I don't have to micromanage them.
Yeah.
If they have a set of skills that they're selling me and they're in their tool bags, I expect them to perform with that skill set.
Well, management is the antithesis to delegation, and it is a byproduct of not having someone you can delegate to. And I remember the first property manager I fired. She's terrible. Absolutely fucking terrible.
That's your fault, Mike.
It
you
is
should have
my
made her
fault.
better.
Absolutely my fault. 100% my fault. But I got in a position where I just had to keep and she was inputting bills and paying. Like, this is very freaking important. Paying clients' property management bills is very important. She's making errors all over. And so I got into this position where I was micromanaging, and I kept having to, I'm trying to educate her. I'm like, this, and then finally I had to fire her. And whenever I fire anyone, I ask for feedback, and she's like, you're just a micromanager. And you have to take that and you have to reconcile it and dissolve it, and then understand, okay, well, is my personality micromanaging? Hell no. I am the least figure it out. Don't tell me that's what my dad taught me. You figure it out, not me. That's what your job is. My job is to guide you and say, yes, that's the right decision. But my personality is not to micromanage. And we get put in these positions where now you hate yourself because you're micromanaging and you don't want to be a micromanager.
Yeah, I've got a lot of employees, and when somebody's underperforming, I always ask the question is, what are we doing wrong to set them up for failure? There are some folks that you're just not going to be able to bring them up to the level they need to be, but I still think it needs to be the first question is what is our role in this, and how did we set them up? Because if we set them up for success over and over and over and they continue to fail, then maybe they're not the right person, and we gotta cut bait. But if I think you got to take some responsibility for it. I always feel like when we win, I always give the team the credit for it. The team won. When we lose, I take the credit for it. It's like we lost because of me. So what did I do wrong to cause this issue to happen so it doesn't happen again? I love it when we do something wrong. It's uncomfortable, but when a client's upset about something or something's going south, it gives us a chance to all sit around and go like, okay, we lost that account. Why did we lose that account? Here are the things that happened. How can we get better from that so that we don't do that again?
Yep. 100%.
All right, we're going to wrap up this construction episode. You guys say that construction is hard.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. I actually got a good question on that, actually.
Is it hard? What's hard?
I'd like to hear Chad's has construction gotten easier for you? 10 years in the business now, like, has it got easier? Have you just created more hard?
I created more hard. It hasn't gotten any easier. I work harder today than I did when I started. Yeah. I have less question marks, I guess, just because I found such a comfortable place for me and my business and my employees. Yeah, and we're just, it's a small team, but we're very close, and I think the expectations known of everybody are very. When you have such a small team, if somebody's not pulling their weight, it's very evident, right? And so we've hired a few people and we brought them on, and if they don't fit the team, it's not my call whether or not they get to stay or go. Yeah. It's the team's, because the team looks at it as like, well, if you're paying that guy a wage, why even have him? I can do that. Just pay me more. Pocket, right? So I'm a very open book. I let my people see, they know how much money's in our bank account. They know what we're doing. They know what we're buying. They know what jobs we're running. That part doesn't matter to me. So having that real small team is an advantage, but I still have a lot of work to do. Yeah. So it is hard. Some things have gotten harder and some things have gotten easier, but I would say I work more now than I ever have. One
of the things, though, is like in the beginning, you're wondering, am I going to make it? Is MCG really going to be a thing? Is this going to be a viable business? I mean, and then as you get your first few months in, you're like, oh, we picked up some jobs. And like, oh, are we going to get more jobs? And then eventually that wears off and you're like, oh, we have a business. You're not thinking in terms of, do I have a viable business? You're just thinking in terms of, how do we continue to operate this thing at its absolute best, make a profit, make sure our team is taken care of, make sure our subs and our clients are taken care of.
Yep.
You're worried about different things today than you were 10 years ago.
You're making 3-year decisions instead of 3-month decisions.
I had the will this thing work all the way up until I started the business. And then it was too late. It's too late to ask if it's going to work.
Burn your ships.
It's either you're going to work and bet on yourself, or it's not going to work and you're going to fail.
Isn't that how most single operators start? You kind of get thrown into the fire?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know that many people plan for it.
I mean, in my situation, I was pretty fortunate because when I was leaving, I had clients that I told I was leaving, and then they said, well, where are you going? I said, well, I'm starting my own construction company. I said, but you're this account, stay with this company, right? And they said, well, you're my guy, so I'm coming with you. Mm-hmm. And then I had other friends that were like, if you start your own company, I'll give you this job, this job, this. Like, there was like people on my side rooting for me. And so I didn't have to do the normal stuff that most people have to do. So then it was just a decision on whether or not I want to take the bet on myself.
Yep.
And if I did, start the company.
It was the exact thing I experienced in the appraisal company. It was I had CPA, I had mortgage brokers, I had realtors. It was just a matter of, are you going to take the steps and tap into that and ask for work?
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Do you feel like if you hadn't had your background that you did going in, that it would have been harder? Like, I feel like both of you guys have this, you've networked, people know who you are, you have a reputation, like people know when they want to get something done, they can go to one of you guys and they can get it done, or you'll tell them where to go to get it done. Like, if you had just been somebody brand new to the industry, you wouldn't have had that same network. You wouldn't have had that same reputation. Like, you have your own personal brands, and in my opinion, they're both very, very strong. Like, I've never heard anybody say anything negative about either one of you. So I would imagine that you're leading up to it. There was the timing of it all. Do you ever look back and go like, oh, I should have done this 10 years earlier? Or do you look at it and go like, I had to go through these steps. I wasn't ready until the time came to do it.
Very much. The second, I was actually getting my real estate license the year before I decided I was going to start MCG. And I wouldn't have been ready. And 100%, I've always been like the person that everybody calls and says, hey, do you have a guy for XYZ? Hey, do you know somebody that wants to buy this? Hey, do you know somebody? And I always when people ask me for stuff, even if I don't have the answer, I try and find the person that will. I don't ever leave it left. I don't leave things undone. So coming into the construction industry, I already had a reputation. I had a good network of people, and that's just been a constant feed, right? It just keeps coming and coming. Even when I think we're going to slow down, 3 things pop up that weren't even on my radar, and that 100% has to do with my network. I mean, it's just
there was a time when you started where construction really took a dip. I remember like everybody was really worried about where jobs were going to come from. So there have been ebbs and flows in terms of the construction industry over the last decade, but you feel like you've just had steady work the whole time.
Yeah, I think the only time that I could truly say where guys were working 4 or 5 hours a day and I was paying their salaries and we were like sweeping the shop and like really there was nothing on the horizon was right when COVID started, when everybody just stayed home and everything kind of stopped. Then everybody was just standing around looking at each other and nothing happened. There was like 3 months of that where I was just paying the payroll and it was eating out of my savings. And then month 4, it just turned back on and everything was back to normal.
So with the commercial real estate industry being in a recession the last 3 years, and now they're talking about the production pipeline really emptying out and we're not seeing as much new product, do you guys feel that you're going to sense another like dip in the market? Will there be less jobs, less money, less like it seems to me like there's not a lot of like office. You're in the office world. So there's not a lot of offices leasing, and that's kind of where you get your businesses from a new tenant going into a space. How much does the slowdown in the commercial real estate industry affect your pipeline?
I'll let you go first.
Mine is totally different than Chad's, like polar opposites. Our work is a matter of our ability to do internal projects. And that's how I was going to kind of move that into my point earlier is like, when I was ready to start the jump to GC, it was because I had queued up internal projects to build. So like my start is way unconventional. Like it wasn't like clients were busting down the doors to do a project with us. It was like, I'm going to do this project. I'm going to create the GC to do it. And this is the vision I have for this. So it was way different. But I see the economic impact to our business as a challenge, but that's an equal challenge to everybody. Like it's fair, and so everyone's feeling the same pressure, and so it doesn't really matter. The same element if it's super busy and like those have the same. It has challenges. They're different, but like everyone's in the same field. There's less work.
It's the same extrinsic. You get to handle it intrinsically.
Yeah. So our focus has always been let's go create a project, bring partners in, do whatever. Our first like client facing, we have zero to do with this deal was
in terms of ownership, just third party
was last year. Like we're 4 years into that. Every project we may do small project, but significant. It was like a $4 million project was for a client just recently. Like we've done smaller stuff, but so my whole vision for the business is just completely unconventional as a GC. But there's benefits to that is like we know when our jobs are going to go. We know what kind of jobs we're going to do. We know that we're the decision makers. So it's just a lot different. So it may mean we slow down, but we have the benefit is when things get slow with our internal developments, we do client work. And we may do weird client work, like maybe slower stuff. Like we may chase a unique job here and there, but like we get to choose that because we can fill the schedule with it. So it's different. It doesn't really glide with other GCs for sure.
Yeah, I would say in my part of the market, I haven't really felt any recession or slowdown in work, but the pipeline that I have to fill is, if my goal is $5 million, it's not an incredible amount of money to fill, right? And so I've always let that grow or happen organically. I've never gone out and like forced. I've never gone out and said, I want to bid against everybody else in town. That's never been my MO. And it's always stayed pretty full. But I would say in the last 8 months, I have noticed a lot of residential guys calling saying like, hey, can I give you a paint bid? Hey, can I do your concrete? Hey, can I do your, and it's like, when you start to see that, the residential side of things have really slowed down. But if the guys my guys that work with me, they do a lot of work with me. I also gauge like where they're at with their other GCs that they work for. And I haven't seen anything slow down on our side of things. Now, I know some of the bigger projects that I normally wouldn't chase, anything over $5 million, when those slow down, then what happens is my other competitors in town start to come.
They want your work.
They come looking at my jobs, and then I'm bidding against guys that I normally wouldn't bid against. Usually I'm not bidding against other contractors. It's like, hey, can you give me a budget for this? I give a budget. We do the job. We settle up at the end of the job, and it's what.
So are you seeing more of that where the big dogs are coming in and trying to scoop up some of those smaller jobs to keep their crews rolling?
Oh yeah. That's just when you have a big machine to feed, that's unavoidable at certain times. It's just the ebb and flow of the market.
So are we ebbing or flowing? Like where is the market at right now?
I don't know if I'm a good judge of character, or I don't know that I could judge that as well as maybe a bigger contractor could, because it hasn't affected my workflow.
But are you seeing more of the bigger players come into your field recently?
Yeah. In the last year, the people that I bid against the most actually I bid against the least most recently, because their pipeline is filled in a different avenue.
Okay.
And so I haven't seen them as much, but then there's new players to the game, either guys that are just getting into commercial or guys that had different circumstances and need to fill a pipeline that got lost.
So if somebody wanted to get in construction today, and this is the avenue they want to take in real estate, is to get into construction, is now a good time or a bad time to get into it?
I would say you need to be pretty good.
Isn't that always the case, though? Or are you saying that like right after COVID, when money's just flowing, like anybody could have got in and sort of made it for a couple of years, and now
everybody did?
Yeah,
when COVID happened, so many guys took off their bags and started a company. It was insane.
It's headwinds versus tailwinds.
Yeah, you got a guy that's got a pickup truck. He goes and gets a little enclosed trailer, puts his logo on the side of it. All of a sudden, he's got a plumbing company, and those were happening. Like, I saw that daily, and I would say 80% of those guys aren't even in business anymore.
So it was just a blip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of money flowing.
We see that in brokerage too. Everyone went and got a license, and
that's actually why I never finished my real
years.
estate license. That's why I didn't finish, is because I saw what the market was doing. I saw so many people going in, and I knew I could still be successful, but I thought, like, that just doesn't appeal to me anymore, because that's what it's like a trend or a fad. And I was like,
I can't see you being a real estate agent.
Yeah, I wouldn't like it. Yeah.
Be a much better contractor.
Chad? I like this question. I've heard a lot of funny stories or interesting stories of GCs or even specialty trades that, like, a time where there was a job that needed something so extra to get it done, whether that was like a bunch of guys, unbelievable like challenge. Like, give me a funny story where you just like had to think so outside the box or deliver something so unrealistic across your career that would be interesting to listeners. It's a hard question. I mean, you might have it deep buried in the brain there, but
I try and forget those ones, I think.
Or you moved a mountain, pretty much.
There's one that comes to mind. It was down in Corvallis, and it was an old Staples building. Staples, like an office place.
Office Depot.
Yeah, and Kelly's Furniture was going to move down there. It was Ashley's at the time. He had his Ashley stores, and he wanted to put an Ashley store. And Jeff came to me, and he was like, "Yeah, we got like 8 weeks to do this," and I'm like, you got 8 weeks to get a permit, like to be done in 8 weeks. And everybody says that, right? And you take that with like a level of just not understanding the whole thing. And like, yeah, sure, yeah, 8 weeks is great, but he was serious. Like he wanted it done in 8 weeks. And so putting that together, and I'd never done anything that big and that fast. And so putting together the schedule, I basically had to compartmentalize this big building into little tiny chunks. Like it was like a Rubik's Cube of a schedule, right? When I was done, and I had people stacked on top of each other. So there wasn't problems every day. The only problem was the electrician's calling me to yell about the painter. The painter's calling to yell about the flooring guy. I mean, just pure chaos. Like it was insanity.
They hate it when you do that.
And it's a 20,000 square foot building. There's going to be things that you find that are wrong. There's going to be things that need to be fixed. There's all the little intricacies of that many square feet. And that was, I probably lost 2 years off my life running that job.
So was it because you didn't set expectations to the subs of like, you're going to be stacked? Like, or did you do everything you could in that? Like,
Oh yeah.
Prep.
Yeah.
It's just
They knew.
inevitable.
Yeah, but if somebody's pissed and they want to yell, like I'm that sounding board. Like, okay, yeah, I told you this is gonna suck, and it sucks. So now we're on the same page. Like real life, real time, it sucks. And then it was like, okay, I'll finish today. That type of thing. And when people get frustrated, I think that's being calm and cool and collective is like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. But if I match their energy, it's not going to solve my problem, right? Like, if I start yelling and screaming, I don't know that I've ever yelled at anyone in the years that I've been in construction. I don't yell at people. So I usually try and keep it pretty chill, and then that usually brings the temperature back down to where it needs to be in order to accomplish what we're both trying to accomplish. We're all on the same team, right? It's like if a sub calls and starts screaming at me because this sub is an idiot and they're in their way, it's like, cool, except for without him and without you and without me, we don't have a job and we're sitting at home. So what can we do to make that all be cohesive and get this job done on time so we have a happy client and he gives us another job? And that's exactly what happened. So, yeah, it was crazy.
And you got it done.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
All right, guys. We're going to wrap this one up. Marc Gallegos, Skyline Builders, Chad Montgomery, MCG Construction. Thanks for joining us today. Deal Junkies, we love you. Please share us with your best friend, and we'll see you next time.